Solid-state drives have made a huge impact on computing, and particularly, I think, for media creators who have to handle large volumes of data, video, photo, audio, and that includes both internal and external. And as usual for technology, the price has dropped, so you could get more capacity for less money, and they also made small evolutionary improvements to boost the performance of these. Both SanDisk and Samsung offer 500 gigabyte drives for comfortably under $100, but I wanted to see just how usable those older SATA SSDs are in these very inexpensive enclosures. This Initech enclosure came in just a bit over $10, might have been $12. It pops out here and has this little flip up that you insert the drive into. It has an indicator light here, and it has a little flip lock switch, which I've already managed to break, but it's just to help you keep from accidentally opening the enclosure. The U-green enclosure was a little under $20. It's a much simpler design. It's also USB-C. It has an indicator light as well, and you basically just kind of slide it apart, insert your drive in here, and align those rails, and it slides back together again. Both of these enclosures come with a USB-C to USB-C cable. During testing, I used two Samsung drives. One is a Samsung 830, the other is an OEM SSD made by Samsung. Performance was virtually the same, pretty much identical, no matter which enclosure they were in. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in these Blackmagic test results, but they give us a rough benchmark on what to expect from these drives. So let's take a look at those. The Samsung 830 lagged behind the other Samsung drive just a bit. The SanDisk Extreme Portable SSD did lag behind the OEM Samsung drive, but it did just edge out for the fastest read test. These tests can give us a rough idea, but it's nothing quite like a real-world use case. So I thought a 30 gigabyte copy test would give us a quick idea on what we can expect. So after some testing, swapping back and forth, I determined it really didn't seem to matter which drive was in which enclosure, so I just picked a configuration for both. I timed how long it took to copy 30 gigabytes of data from my MacBook Pro onto these drives in 10 gigabyte increments. For the Samsung 830 SSD in the Initech enclosure, it took about 30 seconds for the first 10 gigabytes. It hit the 20 gigabyte mark in just a little over a minute. And for the full 30 gigabytes, it took about a minute and 40 seconds. Okay, this next test, the OEM Samsung in the U-green enclosure, threw me for a little bit of a loop. The first 10 gigabytes took a minute and 40 seconds. It took 3 minutes and 20 seconds to get to the 20 gigabyte mark. And for the full 30 gigabyte mark, it took 5 minutes. Now I retested this twice more, and I got more or less the same result. External SSDs can be inconsistent sometimes, and it has to do with cache performance and trim management. One thing that I've learned is that if you leave an SSD plugged into the computer, not active, it will sort of heal itself. It will clear that cache and perform whatever trim maintenance the chipset needs to do. After letting that drive sit for about 20 minutes, I retested, and take a look at these results. The first 10 gigabytes took 25 seconds. It hit the 20 gigabyte mark in 45 seconds, and it finished the full 30 gigabyte copy over in a minute and 5 seconds. So how did the purpose-built drive from SanDisk perform? Well, the first 10 gigabytes came over in 25 seconds. It hit the 20 gigabyte mark in 50 seconds. And the full 30 gigabytes took about a minute and 20 seconds. So that drive that was at first the slowest by far ended up being the fastest by a slim margin. I do think there is a pretty good use case for these inexpensive enclosures. I do plan to use them in these SSDs in certain very controlled environments. On the other SATA SSDs, I got very inconsistent performance. I think that's due to caching and trim management. I think SanDisk and probably Samsung as well have just really dialed in on the performance specifications. These drives really have performed well for me. They're quick, consistent, and pretty durable. I would say this is much more durable. I would trust this much more outside the home or office environment than the others. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below. And if not, I hope to see you in the next one.